Welcome back. Now we have our SME series this Monday morning, and in 2010, Shileola Ibironke founded one of Nigeria's foremost content acquisition and distribution companies, Micromedia Marketing Limited, and the company has produced quite a number of successful television content. Now, she currently spearheads the international distribution of African drama series and movies under her company, Media Sales Africa. And she's joining us this morning to talk about her success story, the challenges, and how much money she's making. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, this SME series, usually it's really about encouraging entrepreneurs and also people who are looking to strike out on their own, things that we should look out for. But you're going to tell us how you started in 2010.
In 2010, Micromedia was birthed, but before then I was already in line with the business line that we were starting off with. That means that was content distribution, acquisition and distribution. Micromedia was born out of the fact that we wanted to fill a gap in the TV content marketing industry at the time. And that's why I resigned from my previous organization and went all out to start this.
So, I mean, it's always a big challenge, especially when someone who has a regular job, your salaries are being paid, at least that's a secure environment. And then you then strike out that, okay, you know what, I think I'm going to start my own business. When does an entrepreneur, when do you get to a point where you want to do that? Like if you're giving someone an advice who had a regular job, how do you know that this is the time to do this, quit and start on a new business?
There's actually a hunch that comes on you. You begin to, what I try to advise people mostly is that you must have gone through apprenticeship for what you want to do. You don't just set out not knowing where the network, the distribution, the channels, the pipelines that will feed the whatever business you're going into. So for us in Micromedia, for me, about starting, I'd spent over 10 years in the industry.
Wow. Okay.
Working in the industry. So I already built a network. I already built an understanding of who would be feeding me the content, who would I be selling to, who my clientele network would be like. So it wasn't like I was just going out there. The only thing I didn't have was the funding to, like, large funding to start the business. But I already had a bit of equity in, not physical capital, but I had a huge network capital.
Okay, so I like this idea about network capital. We'll come back to that later. One of the biggest challenges I know people have when starting a business is getting new clients. So talk to us about how you got your first client.
First client would be, it would be, like I said, the network of clients that I had at the time.
Yeah.
I reached out to quite a lot of them and told them, I pitched the gap analysis. At the time, we had content that, when I mean content, I mean TV series that you watch on television. Yeah. We had the Mexican ones, we didn't have the core African ones. And I knew that Nigerians were growing up to wanting to see just their own skin talk to them on television. And at the time, I just had my first baby, so I was home for a while. And I began to watch DSTV. I realized that we had quite a lot of African content coming up. And that wasn't the same on the terrestrial television. That's TVC, one of them.
So you saw a gap?
So I saw the gap. I identified the gap analysis, and I set out to I launched out on that.
And then, of course, you got your first client, and then it became a success story. Now, the challenges that you faced. A number of times, what we usually find, especially in a business climate like Nigeria, is that you start a business, maybe you quit your job, and you encounter challenges, and then maybe after a year or so, you start looking for a job. You say, you know what, I'm going back to the job market. Why did you decide that you were going to stick with this no matter what?
Well, before then, I'd enrolled in the business school, and I already understood what the cycle of operational excellence would be. The fact that if you're setting out a business, don't expect to earn real funding in the first 6 months. You have to understand how the business would roll over, and try to create a bit of capital to sustain yourself within that period of time. And then you begin to break even. And when you even break even, the funding, well, that's what a lot of entrepreneurs don't know. The funds you make from your business does not belong to you. It belongs to the business.
Right.
Yes. So you then have to keep either creating it, expanding, either you don't diversify at the time though, either you expand the business, add more to your retinue of products, which then begins to generate funding for you from different streamlines. That's exactly what we set out with, and that's how we became successful.
Wow. Okay. So your background, attending the business school.
I'm originally an economist.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Originally. So that and then of course attending business school as well helped you to be able to shape and shape your expectations in the future, which was important. How about mentoring? Did you have any mentors?
Well, I would say my mentors have always been the ones that have been in the business with me for quite a while. So reaching out to them, explaining to them what I was setting out to do. There were quite a lot of people advising on what to do. Some were very, very, a bit hesitant, like, why would you want to just turn out like that? And you want to start big. You don't even want to just try to create something small, but we really wanted to launch out really big, and that's exactly what we did. So
let's talk about discipline with money, because sometimes, you said just now that a lot of entrepreneurs don't know that the money you make from a business belongs to the business.
Yes.
How were you able to maintain discipline, through the various cycles of your business and then, continue to expand?
Well, for us in micromedia, what we do basically, like I said, in corporate financial accounting, though, you always have different levels of funding that come to you. So there's the operational funding, which has to sustain your business. There's the retained earnings, which you must keep after you declare your income for the year.
So where does operational funding come from?
It comes from you. So what you must do at the set out of any business, you must do scenario mapping. You must understand the business that you're going into. Put everything, even the cost of walking from here to there, it comes at a cost to you. So you must map the whole operations of your business and put a cost to it. So that's where the funding comes from. So that means that if I'm selling pepper now, and it comes at 10 naira, it comes with the cost of going to access the pepper, whether in the farm or I'm going to access it. I'm going to buy it from a dealer, or I'm going to get it from a wholesaler. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So people don't put all these things into consideration?
Yes, and that's why the businesses don't get successful over time. They run out of understanding that I should have created an operational funding for my business, and knowing that no matter what happens, in times of rain, in times of drought, you must have operational funding.
Yeah, because what happens is that, you get 10,000 to start a business, and then you invest on part of it, but you're not considering the transport that it took you to go to Lagos Island to buy the stuff. And then after a while, you just discover that
those are your cost of sales, which are the most important parts of the element that created your product in the first place.
Wow. All right, so dealing with success. I mean, we're going to be rounding off in a minute or two, but dealing with success, when money starts coming in, you're making profits, what do you do?
When you begin to make profit, like I said, you need to understand if you have to add more products to your existing, because what is generating money for you now might not generate money for you in another 5 years or 6 years. So let me take an example with the telcos. Before, voice used to be the main generating income generation for them, but now it's data. So more or less, like, that was what used to make so much money for them. SMS used to make so much money for them, but new technology has changed. So what you have to do when you start making money is open the line, create more products that will keep that business and keep that service running over a period of years.
Wow, Shileola Ibironke, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm sure one or two people are inspired and they've taken a cue from what you